Thank you, Mr. President. I do want to thank Senator Libous as well for his consideration. On the rules report, we have before us a rules report that has one bill on it. It is the governor's program bill. At the Rules Committee, which produced that report, there was a petition for a hearing on a second governor's bill, which related to independent redistricting. The Rules Committee did not vote on that bill. The Rules Committee did not consider that, on that petition rather, the Rules Committee did not consider that petition as required by the rules of the Senate. And yet we have before us a rules report that came out of that Rules Committee, which was conducted in contravention of the Senate rules. As I began to say earlier, there's a legal doctrine called the fruit of the poisonous tree, which says that what comes out of something that was conducted improperly or against the rules or illegally cannot be considered on its own because everything that it came from was improper. The Rules Committee that produced the report before us was conducted improperly. It was in direct violation of Rule 7 of the Senate rules. We had more than 1/3 of the members petition for a hearing on the governor's program bill to establish a fair and independent redistricting process that the Senate majority has tried to bottle up since the moment it was introduced. They've not allowed a single sponsor on it. They've tried to limit debate on this floor tonight as to the fact that the Rules Committee didn't even allow the petition to come up for discussion. And now we have a rules report, lo and behold, that was produced, that has a bill on it, that many of us will support, myself included, but does not reflect the Rules Committee abiding by the rules of the Senate, which would require a petition on the governor's bill on independent redistricting. Why the Senate majority has spent so much time in the last 2 months trying to avoid even a public discussion of independent redistricting, I think, is plain and simple a direct result of the fact that each and every one of them promised to support that bill or something very similar to it, and from the Wednesday after Election Day to today, it's been one step after another to avoid discussion, avoid it coming up for a vote, avoid letting people sponsor it, avoid it as if it never existed. It seems to me like the Senate majority would be happy to take that bill, my redistricting bill, any other redistricting bill that would go into effect for next year's reapportionment and throw it in the round file and never hear from it again and hope it goes away. And we hear about there's other issues, like the budget, which is obviously a critically important issue for this state. But there's no reason we can't deal with both issues at the same time. I've heard discussion that it's not timely. It's not until next year. It may be until next year, but we have to set up a process this year that would have the time to function and be in place to produce an independent redistricting process for next year. We have become a laughingstock as it relates to our districts. There are contests to name the shapes of our districts. That's how bad it's gotten. Because we're picking who's going to vote for us, rather than letting the voters pick who represents them. And this rules report that we're discussing tonight is just another example, and perhaps the most egregious from what I've seen on the floor tonight, although I do appreciate and respect Senator Libous allowing me to speak on the rules report. I hope that's a sign that as we go forward, there will continue to be a robust public discussion on this issue and not a continuation of what we had seen previously. The fact is, reapportionment happens once every 10 years. It's happening next year, and solutions that kick the can down the road 10 years later will not satisfy the public, they will not satisfy the advocates that have been pushing for this, and they certainly will not satisfy me. We have before us a rules report. We debated these rules for quite some time when they were adopted. I remember that discussion. And many of us were not happy they were adopted, but here they are. And they were adopted with the proper amount of votes after an appropriate vote. And now these rules that the Senate majority adopted over our objections, which is the way it works, are now being defied by the very Senate majority that adopted them. If you didn't like the fact that we could petition for a hearing on a bill, you shouldn't have included it in Rule 7 of the Senate rules. But the fact is that that rule is there. And we abided by the rules that we all voted against. And we presented the petition pursuant to the rules that were drafted by the majority. That petition was ignored.